Howdy folks, Terrific's in. Here I'm on the porch, lovely fall evening. I cannot resist the wonderful weather. And I'm doing a video today because I got something in written by Joe R. Lansdale in the mail today, and I figured I'd take a look. I haven't opened it up, and I'm excited to see what we get and what it looks like and all that kind of stuff. It's a book of poems by Joe R. Lansdale, and I've read Joe saying that he writes poetry, although he doesn't necessarily claim to write poetry all that well. And at the same time, I've read some poems, but I don't necessarily claim to know a whole lot about poetry. I think the closest I got to becoming a poetry expert was having to memorize 7 or 8 poems in the 6th grade, one of those classes there, and that's probably those are probably the only poems I ever actually memorized. But to this day, almost 40 years later, one of them that I had to memorize then touched me deeply, still does, and I tend to get a little bit choked up when I reread it. Robert Frost poem. Anyway, the first trek I'd ever had, or exposure I'd ever had to Joe R. Lansdale poetry, was this anthology series called Halloween New Poems, and I honestly bought it just for the cover. It looks awesome, but in there are 6 Halloween related poems by Joe Lansdale. Really good. It's a really good book of poems, actually. But what I'm here to talk about today comes from the Last Bookstore. They're called the Last Bookstore. Hopefully they're not, but they've got claim to it if it ever comes down to that. So without any further ado, let's see what we got in here, what it looks like, what it's called. See if we can figure anything else out cool about this book. The first time I'd heard about this story, or about this book coming out, JoJoann, if anybody knows who JoJoann is, it's a member of the Joe R. Lansdale Collectors Group on the Facebook. And I think JoJoann might not be the real name. A nice lady who has an accent much like Joe himself, and also writes and sings and does some other things. But JoJoann told us all about it, said that this limited edition book was coming out. There's only 150 copies being made, and that if anybody on any group members on the Facebook group were interested, then she would get our email address, make sure that the bookstore had our information, and sent us out dibs, first shot at the book before it was released to the public. So she worked very hard to make sure that Joe's fans got a chance to get the book if they wanted to. She worked really hard, went through a bunch of hoops and all that kind of stuff, kept checking back in with us, getting us updates on shipping and printing and publishing and all that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, it was ready. They sent the email out. I was one of the folks who got a chance to order it right off the bat, and today the book has come in. So, well-packaged book. I've had troubles over the years with books not being well packaged, but they did a great job. Plenty of paper, wadding, and padding in an oversized box. And then inside there we got a shrink wrap book, hardcover, no dust jacket. I think this is, I don't want to sound too stupid, but I think this is what they might call library binding. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, forgive me. But we have a hardcover book here, Apache Witch. Man, it looks awesome. The artwork is really neat. I was gonna buy the book, period, but then once I saw the artwork on the book, I really got excited. I don't have anything on my shelves that looks like this. So it adds something new to the terrific library. And the terrific library, which is enjoyed really by Terrific and his 2 terrific kids and his very terrific wife. If you notice, I'm working man today. Just got off work, got my junk, set up a camera, figured I'd talk a little bit about a new book that I come in. So if you don't mind, cold one for the working man. About another one for the working men and women out there. Diet Sunkist, man, I like that stuff. Tastes good. More about the book here. I've obviously not looked inside, not seen what we got. But like I said, this is a limited edition book, limited to 100 is what it says here. Unless I'm off on my reading, I've got number 23 of 100. Now I know a guy out there who likes his number 23 with a different publisher, but looks like I got me one of them. Apache Witch and Other Poetic Observations. So if you want to see the table of contents here, the summary, I guess you can pause maybe and read that. Here's what we got. Quite a few poems from Joe R. Lansdale. And holy cow, more. A couple more pages of table of contents in here. Holy cow, another page. Table of contents. Can you see that? Can you see me now? Can you hear me now? As well as starts off with a brief introduction by Joe R. Lansdale. I'm sure that's exciting. There's nothing I've ever read by Joe R. Lansdale that wasn't more entertaining than Joe R. Lansdale just writing whatever about whatever. The fella can talk, the fella can write. It's like it almost comes easy for the guy. Some of the interior artwork here. I've been collecting Joe Lansdale for years, and I honestly happened upon Joe Lansdale by happenstance-ish. I was an F. Paul Wilson book collector, and one day I was talking to some folks on some F. Paul Wilson fans, and said, man, I love collecting F. Paul Wilson because he's got a lot of limited edition stuff. More artwork here. A lot of signed, numbered books, things that I like that's very neat. Other authors that I collected didn't have much. You'd get a first print, hardcover, nothing fancy, nothing swell other than a great book. But F. Paul Wilson had a lot of the signed and limited editions, which made it fun. So I was asking a couple people, hey, are there any other authors that are affordable, not Stephen King, that a poor chap like I was could actually afford to collect? And somebody said Joe R. Lansdale. And I'd remember hearing F. Paul Wilson talk about Joe R. Lansdale here, there, and yon. So I quickly went and I got a few of his books. The Savage Season, Cold in July, hardcover signed numbered combo by Zeising. Zeising? Yeah, I think so. Was one of the neatest. I got a signed and limited edition hardcover version of Bubba Hotep, and man, I love that because I love the movie. I got other signed limited edition books of Joe, and then slowly over the years I would accumulate more and more until a couple years ago I just went out and kind of went crazy and filled up about 5 shelves worth of Joe Lansdale books. And there's always more. No matter how much you collect of an author, there's always going to be stuff you don't have. And I think my collection is satisfying. There's books that I want, but I've got the books that I really felt like I had to have. I couldn't live without. But again, there's always new stuff coming. That fella writes a bunch, and now he's working with SST Publications out of the United Kingdom. They make some great signed limited edition books, and they seem to have something going on with Joe, because every so often they'll come out with a new Joe Lansdale offering. But again, this one here, there's a lot of artwork in this book. It's almost as if every poem or two has a different picture to go along with it. So very neat limited edition from the Last Bookstore, and getting old. Gosh, I can't read the small print. Anyway, from the Last Bookstore, very good hardcover, highly recommended. Before I go, I got a couple of books in on eBay today. A couple of books from the same seller. I won't tip the name of the seller. And anyway, I don't want to say anything about who I got it from, but this one's exciting. One of my very favorite books from Koontz, a signed first print edition of Watchers. There's the limitation page. You look at that number line there. And Dean signed this book. Here we go. I've had a first print, a hardcover edition of this book for a long time. Dust jacket was kind of not in that great a shape, what have you. But anyway, we've been wanting this one. Came across an opportunity to get it. The same seller. I got another one. One of my very favorite authors as well, Lawrence Block. If you want to check it out, go to the Lawrence Block Book Club Collecting Group, whatever it's called, on the Facebook. Take a look and see what he's got out there. 8 Million Ways to Die, a Matthew Scudder novel. This one's also, for some reason, not easy to come by. Published by Arbor House. This one is also a first print, and it's signed by Lawrence Block. And some fellow, looks like his name is Reeves. Reeves. When I looked at the picture on the listing on eBay, there was no Reeves there. The top of the page was gone. So sometimes sellers intentionally try not to divulge all the information. Now, that being said, as hard as this book seems to be to come by in decent, good condition, very good, however you want to describe it, I would have still bought it, although I would have haggled a little bit more over the price. Reeves, if you're out there, don't sign any more books. Nobody wants your signature on there. Lawrence Block, first print, hardcover books. Anyway, I'm not going to complain too awfully much, but if you sell something on eBay or anywhere else and it's signed by a previous owner or something like that, make sure the buyers know. It's only fair. Be a good person, do the right thing, all that kind of stuff. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, I'm out. C'est la vie. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Adios, amigos. I stole a Winnebago.